You're standing in line. Your phone is at 1%. Nothing is happening. And within 11 seconds, something inside you starts screaming for stimulation. You call this feeling boredom. You treat it like a malfunction. But what if it isn't broken at all? What if it's one of the most sophisticated tools your brain has ever built? Think about that for a second. An emotion that feels like emptiness. A state that feels like nothing. Engineered by millions of years of evolution to do something very specific. Because nothing in your brain is actually free. Every emotion costs energy to produce. Fear costs energy. Joy costs energy. So why would evolution spend precious resources building a feeling whose entire job is to feel like nothing is happening? Here's the strange part. It didn't build it to feel like nothing. It built it to feel unbearable. Psychologist John Eastwood at York University spent years trying to define boredom precisely, and what he found reframes the entire emotion. Boredom, he argues, isn't the absence of stimulation. It's the desire for stimulation paired with the inability to engage with what's available. You're not empty. You're straining against a wall. Your brain wants to act, wants to think, wants to move towards something meaningful, and it can't find a door. That distinction matters, because it means boredom isn't a void. It's a pressure system. Picture your ancestors 40,000 years ago, not in some dramatic hunt, not fighting a predator, just sitting, waiting for the rain to stop, waiting for the herd to move, waiting for the fruit to ripen. Most of human history wasn't crisis, it was waiting. And in that waiting, a mind that simply shut off would have been a mind that missed the fire about to spread, the shift in wind that meant a storm, the faint movement at the tree line that meant food or danger. So evolution needed something clever. It needed a mechanism that made stillness intolerable enough to keep scanning without draining the same fuel as full alertness. Boredom was the answer. A low hum of discomfort that says, keep looking, something is out there, don't settle. That's the twist most people never think about. Boredom isn't your brain giving up, it's your brain refusing to. Now here's where it gets even stranger. Boredom doesn't just push you outward toward the world, it pushes you inward toward yourself. Researcher Aaron Westgate at the University of Florida has studied what happens in the moments when people are denied stimulation entirely. In one now famous study, participants were left alone in a room with nothing to do except press a button that delivered a mild electric shock. No phone, no book, no conversation, just their own thoughts. And a striking number of people chose to shock themselves rather than sit with their own minds in silence. Let that sink in for a moment. Given the option between discomfort and their own thoughts, many chose discomfort. Why would sitting with your own mind feel that unbearable? Because an unoccupied brain doesn't go quiet, it goes searching. And if it can't find something outside to grab onto, it turns its attention inward, toward memory, toward emotion, toward everything you've been avoiding thinking about. Boredom, in that sense, isn't the opposite of thinking. It's an invitation to think about the things you'd rather not. This is where the ancient and the modern start to blur together. Your ancestors experienced boredom in short, sharp bursts, waiting for rain, waiting for prey. The boredom would end because the world would eventually offer something, a sound, a smell, a change worth reacting to. But you don't live in that world anymore. You live in a world engineered to never let that pressure build. The moment boredom starts to hum, you reach for a screen. Not because you're weak, because 100,000 years of biology trained you to treat that hum as an emergency signal. And modern technology figured out exactly how to answer it instantly, endlessly, for free. Every scroll is a tiny relief. Every notification is a small door opening. Your brain gets exactly what it evolved to want, except now it never has to sit with the discomfort long enough to do what boredom was actually designed for. And that's the twist buried underneath all of this. Boredom wasn't just built to make you seek external stimulation. It was built to make you creative. Psychologist Sandy Mann at the University of Central Lancashire ran a series of experiments where participants were given deliberately dull tasks before a creativity challenge. Things like copying numbers from a phone book. The people who had just endured that mind-numbing boredom outperformed control groups on tests of imaginative thinking afterward. Their minds, starved of external input, had gone looking for stimulation internally, and in doing so, started generating ideas, connections, and associations that a busy, distracted mind never would have reached. Boredom, in other words, is the doorway to daydreaming. And daydreaming is where your brain runs its most unsupervised, unpredictable, creative simulations. Some of history's most significant breakthroughs weren't found in moments of intense focus. They were found in the shower, on a long walk, staring out a train window, in moments precisely engineered by your biology to feel unbearable enough that you'd eventually just let your mind wander. So what happens to a species that engineers away every last second of that discomfort? It's worth asking, because that's the experiment experiment you're currently living inside. Never before in human history has boredom been this easy to eliminate. Every idle moment, the walk to your car, the wait for the kettle, the pause between tasks, now has an escape hatch in your pocket. And each time you take it, you're not just avoiding discomfort, you're skipping the exact mental process boredom evolved to trigger.
This isn't a call to throw away your phone. It's something quieter than that. It's a recognition that the feeling you've spent your whole life trying to eliminate might be doing something for you the entire time. That ancient hum in your chest when there's nothing to do isn't a glitch in your programming. It's programming working exactly as intended, in a world it was never built for. Your ancestors couldn't outrun boredom. There was nowhere to hide from it. No screen, no scroll, no 15-second video to fill the gap. So they sat in it, and their minds wandered. And somewhere in that wandering, ideas were born, memories were processed, plans were made, art was imagined before it ever existed. Boredom wasn't punishment, it was rehearsal space. And maybe that's the real reframe here. The moment you feel that itch, standing in line, waiting for the kettle, sitting in a quiet room with nothing to check, you're not experiencing a malfunction. You're experiencing one of the oldest, most refined mechanisms your brain has ever built, quietly nudging you towards something your ancestors relied on just as much as fire or shelter. The pull toward your own unoccupied mind. So next time your phone hits 1% and the line isn't moving and there's nothing to do, don't reach for the escape. Just wait. Watch what your mind does when you finally let it. Because it turns out, the emptiest moment of your day might be the most advanced thing your brain has ever built.